Hello and what's up, everybody? Thank you very much for joining in Touhou Radio Next Generation. Yeah, on August the 19th, 2017. Nice that you guys are checking in. Very nice to see you all. And really appreciating all of you joining us for this very special stream featuring a very nice guest that I was hoping to have one day with us. And for that, first of all, I want to greet my co-moderator, who is Remy, as like last week. Thank you very much for joining in as well today.
Hello, guys.
And now to our special guest is Crescentia. Crescentia, we wanted to plan it all out on the last time when we had Tor at Touhou with us, but unfortunately, Crescentia didn't have the time to or the opportunity to join us that time. But we said we definitely need to have him with us, and today there he is. So welcome to our stream.
Hello, everyone. I would say good morning, but I think most of you are in Europe, so good afternoon.
I think even good evening, as I already can check out a few guys from Asia as well.
Oh, great. Wonderful. Hello. Let's leave it at that.
Let's go all over the world today, huh? And yeah, so today we will talk about, Crescentia, about your work for in the Touhou franchise, about your what you're doing in basic. So let's start with a short introduction. So please introduce yourself to us, like what you're doing, and yeah, a little bit of a basic information.
Sure. I'm Crescentia. I've been a Toho fan for a fairly long time, since around 2011, I think. I didn't really start making. I make music. I didn't really start making orchestral music until I want to say 2013. I came out with my first album in 2015. I've worked on a couple fan games since then, and just came out with my second album for Taisai last month. So yeah.
Wow, interesting. Right now, just hold on a second. Like Touhou Subs is with us today. Hello, and nice to have you with us. Hopefully, hope you will enjoy our stream.
It's Perso. Preferred pronunciation Crescentia. Yes, that's about what I expect. Yeah.
A few and Milky-chan is with us. Hey there, nice to see you with us.
Hello, Milky-chan.
It's awesome. Now all the people are dizzling and it's already 15 PS. Oh, this will be a great stream today. Let's dig into the topics. So, who shall start? Remy, do you want to start or shall I go into it?
I want to start.
Okay.
So, tell us the story how you joined Horaitiaus.
That is not. I don't think that's an interesting story, but I will go into it.
Yeah, tell us.
I think it was around 2 years ago. They had started up their project in the wake of the whole other Toho Smash thing falling apart. So they started their project. They went on for a couple of months, and I think they were looking to recruit some people.
Mm-hmm.
I had. I guess I had like a friend who also does orchestral music, who had been doing a couple things for them, but he didn't really have the time. So he suggested he suggested me to them. So they sent me a message, talked things out. I said, I can do music. I can do other stuff too, as well, since I'm like a pretty big Smash player. And since then, we've just sort of been working together. We've flown out to like a couple cons, or we flew out to one con, and just last month I also flew out to visit James, the lead developer and I guess project manager, which was pretty fun. I enjoyed sitting around with James and like making memes out of him.
I see.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like last stream when we had, or the stream when we had Touhou IT House with us, we played a few of your arranges, and it was amazing. Like we listened to the songs, and was like, man, it's so bad that he can't be with us today. And at that moment, I was like, definitely got to do that one again, because I got to have you as a guest in my stream. Otherwise, it will be like unfulfilled. So happy that it worked out finally. Let's get also into something which is like the base questions. Like, when and how did you actually had your first contact with Touhou itself?
Do we want to go first contact? Because I think I had a friend of mine who got into, or who was into it around when UFO came out. So that's like what, 2009?
Yeah.
Or something. Oh no. So actually two things.
Mm-hmm.
One, one, I've been playing piano all my life, on and off.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think at least 10 years ago, when I was still, well, I'm old. When I was still in college, I think at least 10 years ago, I stumbled upon a Marcy video of Doll Judgment, and I didn't know what it was. All I knew was, like, I like listening to it, added it to a YouTube playlist, and didn't really pay attention to it after. I had a friend in 2009 who liked, who was playing UFO, who liked it, sent me a couple of like other videos. Like, I think Iosis Star River was one of the first like Touhou videos that I'd ever seen, but again, didn't really pay much attention to it for like another couple years, and threw some stuff on a playlist. And then at some point in time, I remembered it for some reason, and I don't remember why. I just remembered it, and I was just like, oh yeah, let me look at this video. Oh wait, this video and this video are related. Oh, there's a whole bunch of other stuff. Oh, what is this Touhou thing? And I think it's at that point in time when I really started to get into Touhou.
Okay. Well, that's very interesting. So you weren't going into it because of the cliche thing about bad apple or something like that. You had another way how you were introduced to it. It's actually very nice, because like Marcy was also one of the people that I heard first when I wanted to check out a few Touhou things, and ever since it's been amazing to see how many people also know him. And also, I mean, he is of course a very famous guy, of course, hands down. However, it's amazing that there are other ways to get into Touhou than the cliche way of either bad apple or embodiment of Scarlet Devil. Like, these are the most common ways people say. I mean, no offense to them, because it's definitely, first of all, Bad Apple was a very nice mix, and I like it. But just to see that there are other options, how people get involved into Touhou and the whole Gensokyo world, it's amazing. And well, when
I have a question.
Yeah.
When making a new arrange, which are the steps? Like, how are the procedures?
This is. Let me try and figure out how to describe this.
Okay.
Most of the time, because most of the time when I'm doing orchestral stuff, I guess there's like two different ways I could really go about it, and I usually prefer one way to another. I just sort of like load up my DAW, my digital audio workstation. I have a few like sound, like overall like templates already set up for like what sounds I want to use, or what instruments I want to use, and that's based in like different orchestration stuff. And I sort of either I'm playing around, and something magical happens, or like I go into it with like some sort of like character concept, or some sort of like like idea of like what I would like it to sound. I know that on one of my most recent, or for one of my most recent tracks, or for one of my tracks on my most recent album, it is a Mary the Magician arrangement, and I knew that as soon as like I heard Mary the Magician, because I'm a bad Toho fan. Like I should listen to more Zoom CDs. I have a friend that's been pestering me about it, and so I'm reading my way through it. But anyway, I heard Mary the Magician. I was just like, okay, I have to do this. I have to do this, and I know my one thing that I want to do is I want to use like creepy string harmonics that like rise over time. And if I'd known we were going to talk about this, I probably would have like requested it to be played. But since no, we're not. Anyway, I knew I wanted to use like creepy string harmonics. I knew like it was just supposed to be like this overall like feeling of dread. And so I just sort of like went into it with that idea. And that is sort of the way things get started.
All right.
I feel free to jump in at any point in time because I will ramble. I will ramble. But that's how I get started, and then it's just from there. It's just a process of like I guess I should mention the second way which I could do things and I don't do enough of. The second way that I could do things is actually to sit down and like write out a score. And it's something that I learned how to do in the past and like did a couple times, but most of the time I prefer like an immediate feedback environment where I'm just sort of like, oh, how does this sound? How does this sound? But there are some cases where like sitting down and like writing out a score or like coming up with like a general like piano sketch would be helpful. But yeah, so from there it's just testing certain things out, like trying to figure things out, and it's a lot of trial and error, which I have hopefully gotten better at over time with. And then that's the arrangement stage. After that, there is usually like a little bit of mixing or reverb that I need to do, but very light considering the instruments that I'm using, or the virtual instruments I'm using like probably don't really need that much work to be put into it. So it's a stage that I know a lot of other musicians spend their time working through, but it's just one of the things that I can afford not to do as much of.
Wait, I am not prepared on this, so I am asking also, is everything digital?
Everything is digital. So for the most part, I do not have an orchestra in my pocket. I do not have an orchestra. Right. So I am using virtual instruments, virtual orchestra, a fairly good one.
Okay.
For the price, East West Quantum Leap Symphonic Orchestra Gold, I believe. It's pretty old now, but it is what I use, and it is what I tell people to get if they're just like if they have the money to do that.
Okay. Something more of a how can I say, artistic question, as if you start to compose or arrange a song, do you have like a special kind of image in your mind, like the sounds are more like colors? You've got to imagine something of the scenery. You say a more gentle and soft color, so a more soft sound to it, or I want to have more impact, like a bright red, or a bit more a peaceful and relaxed atmosphere, like a very light blue? Or do you have this kind of color play in your mind when you start to arrange things, or is it more or less more of a form thing, like it's more like shapes in your mind?
it it is a lot of like visualization, but it is more like a feeling than it is like, oh, I want something to sound like. Yeah, let me think about this question.
Mm.
So when I learned orchestration, one of the books I studied like really early on was Rimsky-Korsakov, um, and it's a fairly old book because he was alive in like the 1800s or something.
Mm.
But he was, I think people thought that he had synesthesia or whatever that condition is called, where you can actually hear colors. And so, he'd write like, oh, the flutes here are like a cold, brilliant silver, or, like the warm golden tone of the horns, right? So I have sort of like an association with color,
Mm.
with a certain sound, but I don't feel like I actually, it doesn't quite feel that way to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, oh yeah, this is a clear blue, or this is a, but each, I think I do think it's more like of a feeling,
Mm.
like when there's certain things that different instruments evoke for me, and so like those feelings might have like a color association, but it's more like, they are feelings.
Mm.
Um, so I mean there are some things which are sort of like, oh, that is something, but it's like, oh, the piano, depending on how it's used, it might have like a crystalline, like icy kind of sounds, and then you combine that with like a glock a glockenspiel, and then
Mm.
something else. What would you do that with? Crow tails or something, and then you
Mm.
have this like nice, like fragile, like crystalline, like sort of thing.
Oh yeah.
um, or you can just do with like, you can just go with like bread and butter, like strings, French horn, like warm, like this warm, deep, like like all I can say is like it's warm and deep, and you can just sort of like feel like the brown and gold.
Oh yeah.
um but like it's more of like a, it's more like a, you anticipate the swelling and like all the different things that like can come in and out of it. Uh, let's see, the harp, um, anything with like harp, and then my go-to actually,
Mm.
for a lot of stuff, harp, uh, clarinet, flute, like very, like can be very evocative of like water for me, and so that's basically. I mean, it like harp naturally is evocative of water for like a lot of people because of like the way you write and play harp.
Mm.
So stuff like that. So I don't know if color is like a huge thing, but like definitely like feelings and associations to those feelings.
Yeah, and this is, like I once, when I was in Berlin, I had the opportunity to talk to one the uh, of the orchestra members, or from the Berlin. I think it was from the Berlin Opera, and
Hmm.
he was like, he said, in his opinion, or in his mind setting, there are usually two kinds of people who are, or the way, two ways people are referring to music, either in colors or in shapes. However, I always had the feeling that it is kind of both, as sometimes we have this picture in mind of a certain situation or something like that, and this was why I was curious about, because I want to find out what all different people are thinking about this situation and perspective. But that's actually a good point to start off with one of your song requests, which was one of your own works, which was on the path of wind and stars, descendant revelations. Um, Tell us a little bit about your mind setting in it, or what is the background story to it?
This was one of my this was a track that I knew that I absolutely had to do. It was very early on in like my first album planning stages, and I was just sort of like, or actually the idea for this existed um, before even I was like, oh, I'm gonna make an album or something like that. This is something that I did intend to for an orchestra to play at some point in time. So I did care a lot more about like proper instrumentation and stuff like that. It's still probably a little goofy in some parts to like a professional orchestrator or conductor or stuff like that. But it was something that I just knew that I wanted to do something that was like sort of a journey,
Okay.
through Gensokyo, because the story behind Sanai and the warrior shrine is like they're suddenly transported
Yeah.
from the outside world, and so it was just sort of like what was this title? The title of the original track is the primal scene of Japan that the girl saw, right?
Mm.
And so like I wanted to envision that sort of journey that like Sana is just literally like going through Gensokyo, traveling and like just witnessing like the raw beauty and of nature, of this untouched landscape.
Wow, that will be very interesting to imagine while listening to it. Also, like, is there any kind of an Easter egg or hint that you can give our listeners? Like, you have to listen carefully at a certain part of something like that because it has a very important message or something like that.
No, this I would say there are some other things there. I've done some of that in some of my other tracks, but no, this track's pretty straightforward. It's just everything is fairly surface level. Just it's just supposed to be as beautiful as I could have made it. So please enjoy.
All right. Okay, then let's give it a listen, shall we? So we will continue with our interview in a few minutes then. So now let's get on to the very first song for today. So here is On the Path of Winds and Stars, Descendant Revelation. Enjoy the song and hear you guys afterwards. goosebumps. Isn't it amazing what you can make out of songs? Just the image in your mind, it's just astonishing. And it's incredible. Like, you really got the feeling like the image pops up in front of your eyes as soon as you close your eyes. It's just amazing how you managed to get the whole impression, the impact of Gensokyo in just one song. It's quite astonishing, isn't it?
I like it a lot. Really, good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Like, this is, this is the music that I'm always looking for. Like, these are these impressions, the things that make people creative, because it's just the fuel of an image, an impression that starts things off. Like, I right now have the right idea what I can write or do, because there is this kind of an inspiration in every little tone of it. That's what music is all about. And this is what I love about my stream, because I can meet people who are so extremely creative and inspiring all the time. Oh man, it was so the right thing to start off with it. But let's continue our interview, shall we? So, the thing that, of course, a lot of people ask themselves when they listen to Touhou arranges is, what was the point or the situation or the reason why a person decides to start to make Touhou arranges? So what was your starting point? Was it a song that you heard and was like, I want to do arrange to it? Or was it like, I just want to give it a try?
Let's see. So before I was doing this is a question that I can answer with many layers, and usually I think everything I've just sort of like ambled about. So let me just start at let me go back.
Mm-hmm.
I think originally when I started like thinking about when originally I was doing any sort of like Touhou related like creative work, I started out by doing piano covers, right? Because I played piano for like a super long time. I was like, oh yeah, this guy Marcy is like super cool and basically like a god, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so at first I was just sort of at first, I'd been doing piano covers and like all sorts of that. I'd also taken the time to learn about orchestration around that time period, and like how to like write for an orchestra, and different stuff like that. But I never had really thought about doing doing orchestral arranges. And I'm not sure. So I can't really remember like what exactly triggered me to do that. Because for a while I was just sort of like, oh yeah, I'm doing piano, I'm practicing like I actually learned Marcy's like Necrophantasia arrangement, and anyone that's actually tried to do that knows how difficult that can be. Not like an artificial difficulty kind of sense. I can say a lot about like Touhou piano arrangers. Some of which are not very nice words. But Marcy's Necrophantasia arrange was basically like it was hard, but it was fair. Like it was very playable. All you had to do was like sit down and work at it until you got it right. And so that's something I spent a lot of time on. So, but again, I can't remember what exactly prompted me to make the jump, other than the fact that I was sort of like, oh, I guess at the root of this is that like I didn't really see anyone else see many other people doing this kind of stuff, and I thought, oh, like someone should do it. Why shouldn't I do it? And that goes for like both piano arrangement or piano covers and like orchestral arranges. And so like I know like in terms of piano stuff, there are only like one or two like super active people, and since then they've like fallen off dramatically. So have I, right? But back in the day, it was just like one or two people, and so I wanted to try and do that more. And then in terms of like orchestral ranges, I didn't really hear. Um, I wasn't really aware of that many people that wanted to do this as like do that sort of thing as just sort of like their primary thing. There were a couple of musicians that I think, I mean,
Mm.
outside of Japan, there were a couple of people that I knew of. Oh, I remember now.
Okay.
I actually remember now. Um, the reason I got into doing orchestral arranges was that there was an event. Um, there was an event. There was a like a Western like Dojin sort of event called Distant Phantasm.
Mm.
It was around for maybe like 6 iterations. I think it was like once every couple months. And so I heard of it, and I was just sort of like, I should submit something to this. And so I had basically like worked on something for a bit, like a couple months before. I was just sort of like, okay, well maybe this is good enough. Submitted it, got accepted, and I think from there it was just like I got some like good comments and like encouragement, and so I was just like, okay, maybe I'll just do this more from now on.
Okay. Well, that's very interesting to hear. I mean, like sometimes it's just like something that just triggers that emotion of I want to do something, and it's amazing. And with that, actually, it all started amazing. Like, thanks God that it actually this occasion actually appeared, because otherwise we would have missed you so much in our world. And got to say that your ranges are that astonishing. So I think I speak for all of us if I say thank goodness that you're right now with us.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Because earlier I heard that he was talking about learning music. Am I wrong?
You are correct.
So, because I couldn't hear properly, did you study music at some point in your life?
So I have been playing piano for most of my life.
Okay.
And then I studied. I've done I did a few classes in college, but very basic, like, and this is music theory 101, right? A lot of stuff which was covered, which I had learned just basically through playing the piano. But I guess some useful stuff coming out of that was just basic, like.
So you think that to do what you're doing, it is important to study music anyway?
I think it's important to study music if you're. I think it's just important to study music, to be honest. Even if you don't do anything with it, because that way you can be better informed about anything that you're listening to, and so you can sort of have like an extra level of enjoyment of stuff.
Okay.
You sound very sad. Is that making you sad?
I don't know.
Okay.
Because, I'd like to do something like this, but I can't study music anyway, so I am thinking about what to do now.
It's I will just say that it's not hard to get a grasp of like basic theory and stuff like that. Like music, there are plenty of websites like musictheory.net, or I mean, like you can even just like watch YouTube videos of people talking about this kind of stuff. I think it's just better to be informed than not.
Okay.
If you wanted to actually do music, I think um, you don't necessarily need a music background if you want to be if you want to just be an arranger and like get started out on something, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just need a willingness to go through a lot of trial and error, because if who was it that said this? I'm trying to remember. Okay, but either way, like the reason you get into like making, the reason you want to make music is because you have an idea for something that sounds good in your head. And the more you practice that, the more like whatever you create will sound like the thing that sounds in your head. But it takes time to get there. So, learning like theory, that will help. You know, Learning an instrument, that will help, but nothing helps you more than just like going out and doing it like for a very, very, well, not necessarily a very long time, but just going out and practicing it, like the skill that you want to be good at.
Okay. And also, how does the copyright on YouTube works for your arrangements?
So I don't believe I've. Let me. I wish I could remember off the top of my head. I believe I believe most of my stuff I have listed under Creative Commons. But I can't remember like what the specifics are. In general, like feel free to share and use it for whatever stuff you want to use it for. All I ask is that you credit me properly. Whichever. Oh, don't make money off of it, because making money off of it is probably a bad idea. Yeah, I'm trying to remember which like CCBY something SA. I don't remember which combination of letters it is, but it should be licensed under one of those things. So in general, my policy is just like, you can use it, let me know. Don't be a dick.
Okay.
Sure thing that I will tell you right now that I'm going to use your music very often in the near future. Like, I love it so much, and it was already when I heard it, one of your works, when the other guys like James and so on from Herausgebern House were with us, when I was like, that's the stuff I want to play on my stream as well, so no chance that you will get away with that. And so, yeah, just started with the whole thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, as Milky-chan just wrote, if you want to make music, you just go ahead and smash your head right through the wall. Exactly.
Yes. I did reply. Musicians are probably brain damaged from all the head bashing.
However, that also makes them very creative, isn't it? Like, this are something.
Sure. Like, self-inflicted deficiency is a great it's a great tool for being creative.
I mean, like, I finished my high school with having my main topic music and history. So I was having the whole music theory thing 101, and also advanced class with my teacher, who was also my chorus teacher. And back at home, my family, or rather, like, one of my parents used to be an opera singer, so it was like all the time, like, train your voice, and you got to learn the impression of music, how to deal with it, and just the philosophy of music was so interesting to me. And I was all the time like, man, I really want to share this, this enjoyment that I have every time I listen to music like these. And that's the reason why I started this podcast, partially because I wanted to talk with other people who are in the whole thing. But let's talk about something more in depth about Touhou itself. Like, which character or stage theme of Touhou is actually your favorite?
Which character or stage theme? That is hard to say. Oh, I don't think I'm ready for this. I can just spout. Let me just name off a couple.
Yeah.
Night Sakura of Dead Spirits.
Wow.
It is a lovely meandering theme. Yu Yuko used to be one of my. She is still like one of my top Touhous, but she used to be like at the very top. So Night Sakura of Dead Spirits. I have a lovely arrangement of that with Ultimate Truth that I did a while ago on my first album. Let me think. I really like. I have a tendency to like underappreciated themes as well. So I think actually, let's see. Septet for the Dead Princess is not an underappreciated theme, but I do think it is a very, very good thing. But I also have like a weird appreciation because of it for the Young Descendant of Teps. I wouldn't say it's like my favorite, but I would say it's like criminally underrated for some reason. So I really like that. The Gensokyo the Gods Loved. That is actually probably. I think Mountain of Faith actually has like a good amount of like really like a lot of it is just so good and just so melodic, right? And so Primal Scene of Japan the Girl Saw one such track, but the Gensokyo the Gods Loved another such track, and at some point in time I would really like to do that.
What about Native Faith?
Native Faith it's hard for me to escape the memes for that one. Actually, before I was even aware of like any Iosis, like whatever, back when I was doing piano, one of my friends just like me, or I'd mentioned, oh yeah, I'm learning Touhou piano, or one of my new Touhou friends actually. So I made a bunch of friends like through Touhou, through like playing some of the fighting games. And so I mentioned to him, yeah, I'm practicing piano, I'm learning all this stuff. He's like, oh yeah, let me send you some sheet music. Just maybe you can practice it and cover it for me, right? And so I take one look at it. It's a Native Faith. It's like it requires literally like 4 hands on the same person to play. Like everything is just like a huge mess. I'm just sort of like, oh god, you're trolling me, right? And I mean he is he is a pretty big troll. But so even before I was aware of like any like Iosis stuff, like people were already memeing me with that song, so I don't know about it.
It's a little bit like Chuno's Perfect Math Class, right? You can't avoid it. It's always somewhere. There are some people who are going for that song, and it's like, oh gosh, stop it already.
Yeah.
Oh man. But yeah, talking about that's one of your songs that you just said, Stepdad of the Dead Princess. You actually choose a version that was made by Kitsune Workshop.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about it, in depth about it. We know that it's one of your favorite themes, but what else goes into it?
So for that very specific track, actually, Kitsune Workshop is actually one of my favorite orchestral circles. I would say that I rank them over 2D Sound, and this is not to disparage 2D Sound in any sort of way because they are very good at what they do. But I think at the time I was just sort of like, I was looking for something that expressed that had like more dynamic and like more of a more exploration and use of like an orchestra in I guess a traditional setting even because I feel like I think at the time what a lot of 2D Sound was doing was like, oh, this is Touhou film score music, and film score music has a very characteristic sound, very percussion heavy, very very sort of like in your face, like epic, etc. Right? And so I think at the time, what I was looking for was not something like that. What I was looking for was like, you know, something with more lyricality and something like with some like with like some gentleness to it. And so, that's why I had like a preference for Kitsune Workshop. And so when I heard that septet uh, arrangement, it was just sort of like, oh, if you've heard it, it starts out like with piano, right? And then it's just sort of like it's quiet and like, but you are expecting something, and it doesn't like necessarily come in like a massive boom, but it is like a huge swell, and it uses instruments like in a very interesting way as well, I think. So that's why that track is actually one of my favorites and something that sticks with me.
Nice to hear. So let's give it a listen then, in that case. So
Sure.
here we go then again. Here's the next song in our stream. Here is Kitsune Workshop with their song, or the version of Septet of the Dead Princess. Enjoy the song and hear you guys afterwards. Well, Stepdad of the Dead Princess by Kitsune Workshop. I got a feeling that there is a person who is more who has a better opinion on the situation than I do, or rather, like her heart is more into it, like Remy. I definitely know that it is a song that has a very special place in your heart. So, what is your impression about that arrange?
Mine,
Yeah.
I liked it. Even though I like, I don't know, something more catchy at this moment.
Okay.
It was good, so
So
I appreciated it.
I can see actually why it in Crescentia it's for you. It's one of your favorites because it has a very similar tone and the atmosphere to a few of your ranges. So I guess there is this kind of a similarity in atmosphere, not that over impactive as you said, where, like Tutti Sound, for example, there was this Shanghai Shanghai Alice of Meiji arrange, which was a bit over the top with that all epicness and movie stuff that you said, and this one is more peaceful. It is this orchestral thing and a bit of this drama in it, but it isn't like in your face and let's make it completely go crazy.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Oh God. I haven't. I just realized. Stop. I have an alarm that I had an alarm set for 7 and also one for 10 in case or I have an alarm that's usually just set for 10. And I forgot to turn it off. But yeah, it's Kitsune Workshop is I guess one of my inspirations in terms of like composers or like people or arrangers.
Do you have any other?
Yes, people have said that my work sounds like Kingdom Hearts, which is funny because I really like Yoko Shimomura. And then this is I don't know if you're going to murder me for this or not, but the work of Kaori Okoshi is very good in my opinion, and it is one of the more redeeming factors of Kankole. There are a couple redeeming factors for Kankole, but I do think that one of the main composers for that game, Kaori Okoshi, is very good at what she does, and so I've taken a lot of influence from that. Sorry for liking boats.
Oh no, it's actually. I also like a few of them, so don't worry about that. It's
okay.
I mean, it's another franchise that I don't understand why always these two franchises have to fight against each other. I don't see the point in it, but okay. Apparently, my waifu is better than your waifu. That all kind of stuff. Oh, I don't know. But let's.
Guys, I don't know any of them. What are you talking about?
Kantai Collection.
Don't know that.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Okay. Think about ships becoming kawaii moe girls and fighting against creepy-looking creatures, and yeah, kind of stuff like that. And Touhou subs, take that down. Burn.
Yeah. No, don't worry. The pain I'm going through for even playing that game at all is more than sufficient pain.
I'm always wondering why there is no one who made a doujin about Murasa coming into the Kankone world. You know, like that would be actually very fitting, suiting, or the other way around. But
I'm
actually
sure
thinking
it's been
about
done.
Murasa riding Kongo or Yamato kind of makes some weird work, I guess. So good thing that it isn't happening right now, maybe. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure if you look hard enough, you'll find something like it.
Okay, well, let's give it a try later. But Luminescent Chaos says, "How dare you insult my waifu named waifu?" I don't know. That's a very original name? Question mark. But let's get back to our questions. Continuing to talk about favorites about Touhou. Which Touhou character is actually your favorite, and why?
Currently, it's Alice. And I don't. Let's go through the list and the evolution of the list. First, it was Marissa, because Marissa's brash attitude and like sort of like fuck it all personality. Actually, that's one of the things I like about Touhou characters, right? Their personalities are not like, they're not just memes. There's like certain aspects of their personality that like you just wouldn't necessarily, you know, to their character that you just wouldn't necessarily expect. And so, you know, like Marissa is a thief and likes to steal books and stuff like that, but she is and you know, she sort of has like a what's the word? I don't want to like say fuck it all again because that, but she has a very like, I guess, daredevil personality when it comes to like fighting, right?
Quite a tomboy, isn't it?
Yes, but but the thing about it is, like, you know, she does want to get really good at magic. So she's like a super hard worker, you know. It's not like she just steals books so she can sell them and like be like a typical like grady thief kind of person. She's just like, yeah, I just, you know, I want to be super good at magic, and so she's a hard worker to keep that up. And so that was like one of the things that I always found interesting about the characters themselves. So at first Marissa, and then some point in time Yuyuko. And these two were basically my favorite for a very long time. And then Alice more as of recently, because I think Alice has always been like something like a character that I really liked. I think that I've just grown to appreciate her a lot more lately, for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that character-wise, of course, then there is the opposite side. Which character is like not of your favorite, and you can't actually kind of get to her?
Are we talking popular or unpopular?
Both.
I had a friend who really liked. I think it all comes down to how obnoxious my friends are about their love of particular Touhous. So, for a long time, I really did not like Sakia all that much. I have a friend who just really loves her, and like, even to this day, now that he's not into Touhou all that much anymore, like, he's still very obnoxious about it. And so I'm just sort of like, ugh, Sakuya, get out of here with that shit. I've since grown to appreciate her more since like I did like a theme, or I arranged one of her themes on my latest album, which was pretty good. I find that usually I actually start to enjoy characters more once I've just like sat down and like thought about, you know, what are the elements to this character, you know, what are things that I can draw inspiration from, or like that flesh this character out a little more, so like I can get to know them a little better. And so with that said, one of my like least favorite characters is Hisume, because she just sort of shows up and like, hey, look, I'm a lolly in a bucket, right? What am I supposed to do with that? I'm sure there's more to it, but more to her than just that. But it's just like, the first impression was not good, and after that, it was just sort of, it's hard for me to get into a character like that.
Oh, definitely. There's also the thing about the recent character, right? Like the ex-stage boss from the latest game. A lot of hatred right now on the internet about her, because She looks like what was her name again? Oh gosh, like her character design isn't something new. It isn't original, and also her abilities are definitely just a rip off of Yukari's skills. So she's earning right now a lot of hatred right now.
This is the door maker, right?
Yeah.
The backdoor maker.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't know what to make of her, to be honest. I think she's okay right now. But I haven't really had a chance to listen to her theme or get to know her all that well lately. So
well, the franchise is right now a little bit erupting about it. Like they are confronting each other like face off. Like the hardcore fans against the newcomers, and apparently there is like this little civil war starting right now. I don't know why, but okay. It's up to them. I don't care. I will just like my music and everything is fine. But what about...
What does wait. What does Touhou music mean to you?
what does it mean to me?
Yeah, like when you're listening to some particular pieces, what does they mean to you? Do you have any particular memory bounded to it or whatever?
Do I have any particular memory? I have a memory of Imperishable Night. My first time playing Imperishable Night. And just thinking, wow, this is so Japanese. What does it mean to me? Zu's music is always is interesting to me because he does a lot of stuff that I personally like. It's hard to say whether or not. Oh no, go on.
No. Please continue.
It's hard to say. It's hard to say whether or not like there are like certain things that he does that I'm just sort of like, why would you do that, right? And you know, everyone's like, you know, typical things like, oh yeah, trumpets, you know, whatever. And you know, that is a thing, right? Sometimes it's just like, oh god, these trumpets. But it's like I think Zune is just like a character study in like how to be really good or how to become really good at being yourself.
Yeah.
How to become really good at being yourself, because I think there are a lot of elements to his music which are clashing and like contrasting, and like they wouldn't necessarily work well like you know, if there were like if it was by itself, or you know, if it was like the main feature of his style, or like, you know, even like two of those elements, but you know, like 5, 6, 7, like all of them together, like somehow he's like been able to like take all of this stuff that he just really likes in his songs, put it all together, and just make it his own. And that's, I guess, like no matter how like bad I think some of the things that he's done in the past before, like the fact that he can do that he can take something that I think is bad and just like put it together with a bunch of other like not necessarily good stuff, and just make it into something that is actually good and so like characteristically like in his, you know, like you listen to it and you're just like, you know, of course, like there's no question about it, right? Zune made this. The fact that he's able to do that is just amazing to me, and so it's that sort of uniqueness is not something that you can necessarily like find in other people.
Definitely. Like, for example, I personally like the new stage 1 theme from the latest game, as it is some kind of a cheery sound to it, and also I like the menu theme. It's just, you know, the opening song. It's quite good. I love it. And then there are again songs in which I don't know. I don't feel like it is that awesome as I would have expected it to be. However, there are always, you know, as soon as there is a range of it, suddenly I like it again. It's sometimes it takes a while. I think this is one kind of specialty about Touhou, as the fan community builds half of the lore themselves, and also they build up the or they expand the franchise not only inside games but also mangas, anime, music, of course, literary books. It's interesting to see how far this whole thing goes. And talking about doujin work, for example, is there any doujin anime or manga that you're following or do you like a lot?
Let's see. Everyone watches Fantasy Kaleidoscope or whatever that's called.
Sure thing.
That's probably the one that I pay the most attention to. Are there any? I'm not gonna get in trouble if I answer something like Bomber Grape, right?
No, definitely not.
No, I don't actually follow Bomber Grape that much anymore, to be honest. I know actually he does do other stuff now. But back when I got into Touhou, that was just like one of the very things like I binged on was just sort of like, dude, what the fuck is this shit? So there's that. Like I said, I've been trying to get better about like reading, or reading and listening to, and like in general, like being better informed on the primary sources that are not games. So I think a couple months ago, I started reading Wild and Horned Hermit, just because I wanted to, not because I knew it was a good place to start or not, and listening to some of Zoom's like music CDs as well. I think I heard Forbidden Scrollery was ending or something like that. Is it?
I'm not sure about that one.
Okay, I think something is ending soon, and some of my friends told me that I should go read it while and support it while it's still around. So I will have to check in on that.
For example, what about Summer Daydream? Like that one is about to end. It's an animated series which will have the final episode very soon. At least this is the hope of the fan community, as they actually take their sweet time bringing out episodes in comparison to Mampuku, which are bringing out a new episode or launching a new episode each year, or at least at a very good pace. Anime actually took about a year and a half in the making for the last episode. So got to check out how it will continue. But also games, like you're working right now, of course, on the Fantasy Crescendo by Horaiti House. But there are other games. For example, there is that game also, which is a fan project, which is what was it called? Stardust Memories? No, not Stardust Memories. Oh god, Eastern Starlight Romance. You might have heard of it.
Eastern Starlight Romance. That is a game. That is a name that I haven't heard in a long time.
Yeah.
That's the visual novel. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, with that bit of a dating sim feeling to it.
Yeah, I've definitely heard of that. I have not paid attention to it for several years because I don't remember the last time it made progress, or I don't remember the last time like I heard about like big progress being made. So I just sort of stopped paying attention to it. But if they have been, then that's all the better for them. Or,
recently they updated it again, so now we have finally a stage around, or rather like we are right now around the part of UFO, I guess. So it is very interesting. Like I just played it randomly at the time, and I actually liked the whole atmosphere of it. So I'm looking forward what they are going to make out of it, but or rather like what and where this whole journey will end. And yeah, of course, there's this kind of a bit of a strange atmosphere because it's a bit of a dating sim. However, in basic, I like the concept and also the music that they made. However, it's sometimes got the feeling that there are lacking, or there is a bit of um, there is miss. It feels like there is a bit missing in their songs. Like I don't know if it's passion or it's the atmosphere or just the skills. I don't know. It's like it's not comparable, for example, to your work because in each of your songs there is this kind of a special impact in each of them. And in their works, sometimes it's a little bit strange, I could say. Like, it seems like it is not complete. Like, there are patterns missing, or there are at least you could use another instrument in it or something like that. It's I don't know how to explain it. Like as if something would miss or something would be missing in it.
Sure, like I can't necessarily tell you what it would be,
Mm.
or I don't think I'm even qualified. Like this is one of the problems I have actually at Horror IT House. I don't I have trouble judging other musicians, which is kind of a problem when we're like when we're getting like audio submission tracks for the game because let me do a quick plug right here. Horror IT House, Fantasy Crescendo, Touhou, Smash Bros, Platform Fighter. Please give us music. I don't want to write all of it by myself. Uh, like just join our Discord. I'm sure like go watch one of the previous podcasts. Anyway, one of the problems I have is that I think all musicians actually have this problem is that whenever they listen to their own stuff they're intensely familiar with it, right? And so they have an issue with like they're just sort of like, oh, it's imperfect here, here, and here, but most people don't notice that because that's not what they're paying attention to. It just for the musician themselves, like it doesn't have the same impact as it would like on a fresh listener, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a problem that I have. So I feel like whenever I'm listening to other people's work, I always have trouble like effectively assessing it or judging it, unless it's something that I like really, really, really know well, right? So if you're like, oh, I have a question for like listen to this orchestral like segment and tell me what you think about it. Like I could probably give you some sort of opinion, but when it comes to like other genres, like I'm just sort of like, wow, it sounds amazing. Like I can't really, I've been trying to get better at that. Just sort of to try and like listen like more and familiarize myself with other genres. But it's hard, and now I don't remember the original point. Yeah. So I can't tell you, I can't tell you necessarily about what's going on with their music without having listened to it in the first place. And even if I did, I can't necessarily tell you if there's anything wrong with it. But with that said, there sometimes can be. I don't know what it is about music that for things to have like a certain quality and things to not. So, and it's a really hard thing to sort of assess. I think that's what I wanted to get at.
Remy, what about you? Do you got any questions right now?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mine one is, since I am now writing to the Touhou community and checking out the chat, what are your thoughts on the Touhou community in general? All of us.
I am always surprised at how big and how very decentralized Touhou fans seem to be. I feel like I'm constantly like I meet a lot of people through through this hobby. I talk to other musicians from time to time, but not like super seriously. I meet a lot of people through cons or conventions, and it always just seems like there are more fans. There are a lot of fans that out there that like that are they're aware of the series and they enjoy it, but they don't necessarily like post in forums or like are active in any sort of online communities. So it's always surprising to me when I'm just sort of like, oh yeah, like I'll be talking to someone and they'll bring something up related to Touhou. I was just like, oh, you're a Touhou fan, and they're like, yeah. I was just, but do you like, do you join are you on any of these Discord servers or like blah, blah, or any of these old forums? They're like, no, I just like it. And so it's always I'm just it's always been a question to me, like, why is it like that? Uh, because the thing is, like, when I do meet these people, they're nice people. They're great. And some of my closest friends are people that have stuck around and actually become like members of a larger community. So it's always just sort of been like, there are so many people that are part of this, and like so many like other fans that just aren't, and like if they could join in, like it'd be great for everyone.
And what is your future plan for the Touhou community? For you and your involvement in the Touhou community?
Let's see. I've been working on fan game music for a while, and I've been working on putting up my own albums for a while. Hopefully, I will continue to release albums. The next one, hopefully, will not take 2 years of hiatus to make. I guess the primary focus would just be working on Fantasy Crescendo with the rest of Alrighty House, and then if there are other projects, I guess we'll see.
I've got definitely a project here. Like I'm working on an audiobook, so.
Oh, nice.
So maybe I could ask you at some point for it, because I want to have a bit of I want to have that specific atmosphere in it. So we can talk about it later in depth. But let's continue with songs. And like one of the other songs that you have made were "Story of a Lost Sky" and credits. It was an arrange of yours that you sent us. Tell us a little bit about, the background story, or what is to tell about it.
Sure. This is actually older. We're going a little bit more further back in time. As I mentioned, like I've been working on fan games for a bit now. So the fan game I was working on previously to this was Story of the Lost Sky, which is a Touhou strategy RPG, sort of like Fire Emblem. They had a couple of people doing music early on, and then they just sort of needed someone to finish up like the rest of it. So I think I contributed something like 6 tracks. It took me a while because I'm a slow worker, but also there was no real rush, to be honest. Because fan game development, any sort of development is like game development is hard and difficult and takes a lot of time, and especially with fan game development, because you're not necessarily you're basically trying to manage like volunteer and hobbyist like schedules on top of that, so that just sort of compounds the issue. But for this particular track, it's the credits theme. It's the last one I did. I believe it's the last one I did.
Okay.
And it's a medley of a bunch of different Touhou themes.
Wow, so we can look forward to it.
Yeah, and I guess the thing that I really like about this one is that it's fairly simple. It's basically what I was doing a long time ago, and so there's definitely like I do think it's a lot less complex than my current style, but it is also something that I try to do differently than usual. So this is one of the things that I had like a full piano sketch beforehand and sort of like tried to like work things out. A lot of different stuff in terms of like, you know, it's writing for a game, so uh, timing and like certain things and like certain things corresponded to certain scenes. And so it was an interesting challenge, and also I just wanted to be able to like talk about this game because it is one of the few like complete like 100% completed, I think, at this point in time, Touhou fan games that has been produced by the West. So go check it out, I guess.
All right. So let's give it a listen. So let's listen to it. And here we go then. Again, here's the next song. Well, here is the ending theme, Story of a Lost Sky. Draw the song and hear you guys afterwards. All right, we have minor to media technical difficulties right now. Apparently, my internet screws up again. Well, apparently the internet is a bit flimsy right now. I don't know. Like, I got a few trouble shootings over here. How is the stream
Even
actually?
I did.
Sorry?
Even I have problems with my internet.
Okay, finally it starts to stabilize again. Oh man, it's sorry for the little inconvenience, but apparently my internet had a little bit of a fuck up, as always, because German technology is fuck. Literally it is. Well, but let's continue our interview. Well, first of all, I got to say that I love the song. I never thought about how you could fit all of these these themes into one, but this medley actually nailed it pretty good, and got to say that's astonishing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sure.
This is always so difficult, you know, like getting all these themes together in one. It's always kind of a troublesome thing to get them all in one, especially
It is.
how to chain them up. This is the most difficult thing, I think.
Actually, there's a story from when I was working on this. I was not. I was in China at the time, where I wasn't. Well, let's see. I'm trying to remember the exact circumstances. I think I was in China for some of that time, and so I had an issue. I basically the lead developer for that game, or the lead, I guess, Runedevros, basically sent me a like credit scene only version of the game, right? And so sat down. I was like, okay, let me figure out like a piano sketch of this. I recorded. I basically had to like record the entire credit scene by myself, and so what happened was the computer that I recorded it on was actually it was kind of like the specs weren't very good. So when I was recording it, apparently I lost a lot of frames, and like the game was running slower, and I didn't notice this. And we only noticed this later when I tried to put in like the first version of the piano sketch into it. And like, you know, I had like an entire extra like minute or a minute and a half of like material. I was just like, and none of it lined up when it was like actually running properly on like a good computer. And so I was like, oh shoot, what am I supposed to do? So like I spent a good amount of time like rearranging stuff and like moving stuff around and like cutting stuff, changing tempo timings, and it is. I do not envy film composers that have to do it. It was fun. It was fun because I've never really gotten to have that experience. But to think that some film composers, this is just what they do day in and day out. Just like, oh, you know, suddenly like something changes in like a movie script or something like that, and they have to like recut the scenes. Now, you know, where do you get rid of like 3 seconds? Where do you get rid of like 10 seconds, etc.? Or how do you expand this by like another like 20 seconds? And so it was nice to sort of have that challenge, and I wouldn't mind doing it again. It's not like super often.
All right, there you have it, guys. So if you have any projects, you know the guy to ask for. But let's talk a little bit more about Touhou. Like Touhou, generally, of course, the games. However, of course, there's a question always: which game is your favorite, or rather, like which games do you prefer up against others, or are there even games you say that wasn't the best work made by Zune?
I like Imperishable Night the most, probably because it was the first game I played. Let's see. I enjoy Mountain of Faith, even though I hate the bomb system and like I understand it, right? But I just sort of like that game left the biggest impression on me, but like the mechanics, I was just sort of like, yeah, this is kind of lame. I miss having big bombs. Um, let's
But
see.
what do you think about 206?
Touhou 6,
Yeah.
Embodiment of Scarlet Devil. It's fine. It's like for like a reboot of the series, like sort of 6 is just sort of like this is when like the modern stuff sort of starts, right? And so um, I like it. I don't I think difficulty. I think its difficulty is actually a little overstated, because even though you don't have like a hitbox indicator, like there
Hmm?
like even if you don't have a hitbox indicator, there's you there's like a visual cue for where your hitbox is. So I think as long as I think if you go into focus, like you'll be fine. Or
I was asking you because that one is my favorite one.
oh, I mean, like it's good. I like it. I think there's others. So I think it'd be nice to have like a Toho game that was just like
Hmm?
sort of like a like how the mechanics like sort of like change between games, right?
Mm.
I think it'd be nice if there was just like a Toho game that like
Mm.
that didn't necessarily have like a gimmick to it.
Ah, yeah.
Just like raw fundamentals, and that'd be nice. It'd be nice. With that said, I'm not actually that good at shooting games.
Oh, don't worry. Being the moderator of a Toho stream and fucking up even on easy mode, that's me. So,
Yeah.
like, mm,
No, go on.
like I always get, I'm always being teased by my viewers. Like, I know how to torture him. Let him do a very difficult stage on lunatic mode, and he can't end the stream until he finished it. Like,
So,
best way to
wh-
keep me for eternity, and I'm on a stream then.
right. Um, yeah, I have only ever CC'd. Oh no, I've CC'd 3 games.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Imperishable Night, Mountain of Faith, and 10 Desires. 10
Nice.
Desires was super easy.
Mm.
Even I can tell that, but anyway. Anyway.
For me, Imperishable Night was super easy. Like I could finish it in Lunatic, and it was the only one.
Yeah, I don't think Imperishable Night's not hard. It is pretty easy, but for me, when I first played it, like I knew nothing. I knew nothing, so I think that it's a good game for beginners.
Certainly it is.
Oh, and I do really like the last generation of fighting games, not the one that we're currently on, not 13.5, 14 point,
Mm.
etc. But 10.5, 12.3, that sort of generation.
Oh, I
It's
see.
super fun.
Mm.
What your generation is 203 to 5?
Oh no, I mean the fighting games,
Ah, okay, sorry.
the last generation of fighting games, like
Mm.
Hisoken, and everything that's sort of like in that engine instead of like the aerial combat engine that we have right now.
Mhm.
Yeah. Also, just a quick reminder for Don. Yeah, it is so. It's just an insider. Every time I've got to take care of it. Well, well, let's talk about something about memorable moments. Like, do you remember a very memorable moment or an experience that you had with Toho?
A memorable moment or experience I had with Touhou. I have to think about it. I have to think about it. I like with the games themselves, or like with events that are related to these games, or with What
Yeah,
else?
kinda. Like what everything or whatever happened because it or which was related to Touhou.
Um, I I don't know if they talked about this on the last podcast with or your last podcast with or your podcast with Horror Tea
Mm.
House, right? I don't know if they talked about this at all. Um, but we decided to go to Anime Boston sometime last year and do sort of like a brief like demo presentation at as like a guest on a Toho panel
Mm.
that was at the con. We were hoping that we could like recruit some people or like find recruit some people, find contributors, or just like get general interest for the game.
Mm.
So we sort of did that. Um, then we all went out. And then we all went to get food. Um, and I took a picture of our lead developer James drinking a bottle of Mountain Dew.
Hmm.
And I knew this picture would be a meme. I knew
Mm.
this picture would be a meme from the moment that I took it. What I didn't realize was how big of a meme it really could be. So what happened was like I ended up like sharing this picture with some people on the Toho project Discord, and they just ran with it. They literally just ran with it, and so like to this day, like I don't know, like obviously like music, doing like making music, like doing all that stuff, like I feel like that should be like what I feel like my biggest accomplishment is, right? But no, my biggest accomplishment is like taking a picture of my friend and turning him into a meme.
Well, sometimes something like this happens, but this is amazing. Like it must be like it just randomly happened. However, it turned out to be it turned out going viral, right? So not
Yeah,
bad.
no, we've got pictures of there's it got to the point where actually one of our artists at Horror IT House um, basically drew a picture of Raiko drinking Mountain Dew, but in the same pose, right? In the exact same pose, like basically like rendering James as his favorite Toho, and submitting that to Danboro, right, where it got accepted. And people were like, "Why is this a thing?" And then we had to explain the inside joke. But it's there. It's memorialized forever now. Like it is beyond itself.
I guess you still have a good giggle about it, right? When you talk about that one with the other people from Horati House.
I mean, people are still occasionally still make like James memes. So it's just like, how did I how did we do this?
Like in a few years, James will be like, "Why? When does this whole shit end?"
It will never end.
I
It will
guess
never
so.
end.
Good thing for us.
Yeah.
Well,
I have a question.
Hmm.
When did you learn how to use your programs to make new arranges?
When did I learn?
Yeah.
I learned the basics when I was in college, so somewhere like around 8 years ago, I was making like really bad music for a while.
Mm.
I
How did you
basically,
learn?
how did I learn? Let's see. There was unfortunately like I took a class, right? I took a
Mhm.
class and like it was just sort of it was a class where like the program was touched upon, but the class was actually about something else. The class was like um, music recording technology, and so we spent a lot of time like going out into
Mhm.
the field and like recording like different stuff, um, to use to arrange and like cut in music. And then like we brought it back, we put it back on. We worked with like a old classic like analog synthesizer, and we did a whole bunch of stuff with that. And so like the use of the actual like digital audio workstation, like there was like basically like zero time spent on that. Like we basically just had to learn that on our own. Um, but it wasn't hard to sort of get started with that, because basically it's just like, oh, you're cutting up a bunch of audio files, or you're writing MIDI notes into a piano roll or something like that. I don't cosplay myself, but I do like to take photographs. I have a good number of friends who are like cosplayers. Some of them cosplay Touhou, and I enjoy taking pictures of them. Um, and so hanging out with them sort of reminds me that, like, yes, there is a community, like there is a flesh and blood community, not necessarily online community, that is good to be part of. Not that I disparage online communities, because that's most of my life, but it's good to be reminded that, like, there are actual people behind the keyboards. I do have other hobbies. I enjoy playing video games. Like, it's kind of hard not to play video games if you like Touhou, right? Like, so I enjoy playing Smash a lot, Smash Brothers. I play all sorts of other competitive games.
You prefer computer games?
Yeah. I think in these days I'm more of a PC gamer now. And I think, I guess playing a lot of games actually does help with the inspiration kind of stuff. For instance, like earlier this year, when Nier Automata was released, and a bunch of my friends were telling me to play it, I went to go play it. Listen to the soundtrack, and it's really good. It's really good. I was gonna say, like, absolutely gorgeous, but like absolutely gorgeous, I feel like that's like it. I feel like saying absolutely gorgeous doesn't mean anything. Also, saying really good doesn't mean anything. But I was gonna qualify that really good with like more statements. Like, it's like the soundtrack's simple, but it's rich. It's simple but rich, and like the vocal work is the best part of it, because it uses a whole bunch of like basically made up languages in the vocal work, and so that is also like an incredibly interesting challenge that I hope to have someday, to basically like write a song using a language that like no one even understands, and to try to convey like a particular feeling, and they absolutely nail that. So yeah, playing other games and like listening to their soundtracks, that is actually something that that serves as an inspiration.
So music always takes a particular place in your heart. Always, even with your hobbies.
Yeah, I've always told myself that. I've always said that the two things. Two of the
Like,
most.
also, when you are playing games, you are always thinking about music and tracks.
Yes. No. So when I first started learning piano, right? Apparently, I asked my mom to be taken to my sister's lessons, or to learn piano after my sister was taking lessons, because I don't remember. But the other thing about it was, like, I wanted to learn piano, and also that piano teacher had an old NES in her house. So like I'd take lessons with her, and then like when it was my sister's turn, I just sit down and play like the old Super Mario Brothers on it. And so I think the two are like intrinsically linked in my mind.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Hey, how many time do you need before a work by you is ready and you
How much
arrange?
time? It depends on whether or not. It depends on a lot of factors. I think my average time has been about 2 weeks. 2 weeks per track, and that's to count. And that's not even necessarily counting like hours, right? That's it's funny because sometimes, because a lot of times it's like, oh, you know, I'll spend like, you know, on average, what'll happen is like I will spend like an hour a day for 14 days.
Oh,
But I can't. But I've never been like the kind of person that can just sort of be like, okay, here you have you know, you have like tonight and tomorrow to do something. Sit down and do it, right?
Mm.
That is actually something that I tried with this last album, and it only sort of worked out okay, in my opinion. But in reality, it was just sort of like, okay, you know, like it doesn't matter like whether or not I do an hour a day or like if I spend like 15 minutes a day for like 6 days and then like a couple and then like 8 hours on one day and like 6 hours on another day. It just sort of like amounts to anywhere between like 14 and 20 hours over the course of 2 weeks.
All right.
okay. And I don't know what your job is, but would you like to work with music someday, or do you already do that?
um, I would love to work with music more. Currently, I do not do that, but also currently I don't do much.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I think I would like to do more of that, or at least sort of have that experience. Um, yeah.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
one of the songs that you were also requested were from Fires of from a Distance and Fires of Hokai, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
It was an orchestral version. And I think we should give it a try next. Can you tell us a little bit about the background story to it?
Yeah. This is, I guess it's like orchestral sort of folk. It's if I were looking to be, if I could be more experimental
Mm.
with what I'm doing, this is sort of the direction I would go.
Okay.
From a Distance is someone that's not. I think they were like super active a couple years ago. I don't think they've made anything new, or at least I haven't been on the lookout for it.
Mm.
But there's a lot of the thing that just stood out to me when I first listened to this is, you know, it's labeled orchestral, but it's actually just very interesting and it's very different than what you'd expect from like a normal orchestra. So I wouldn't even necessarily call it orchestral, but it is something. It is like a heavily instrumental style that I would like to one day emulate.
Okay. All right, then let's give it a try, shall we? Right now, I'm a little bit afraid because my computer says there is it takes 0 bytes, so maybe it was a failed download. In that case, I might go to change to the next song. But let's give it a shot now. So here we go with the next song. Here is From a Distance with Fires of Hokai. Let's give it a try and hope that everything works out properly. And it doesn't. Ah! Damn it! Curses, loud noises, aggression, and Japanese goes rampage. Sorry guys. Apparently my computer didn't download it properly. So much about online video downloads. Then let's.
Do you need the track?
Yeah, but right now I think we can switch over to the other one, which is Liminality by Feld. What a tongue twist. Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about that song?
Sure, it's not orchestral. It's I'm not sure what to call it because I'm really bad at naming things or keeping track of like genres outside of what I know. So I guess it's like rock, kind of maybe prog rock. Actually, no, it's probably not prog rock. Prog rock is some of Felt's later stuff. This is the stuff that I listen to when I'm not listening to orchestral, basically. It has certain qualities, like, you know, certain qualities that I look for in like any sort of music. So good instrumentation, good arrangement, complex, like lots of complex stuff going on. But the thing that really made me like Felt is like they have English vocals, right? And you know, it's like like English is sort of like a mixed bag. You can either hate it or love it. But I think at the time when I first started listening to them, it seemed like they were like the only ones actually trying to have, actually trying to do that. And I know their lyricist is actually a native English speaker, or yeah, their lyricist is a native English speaker, and so like I could tell, you know, they were really trying to like make it like reasonably decent. And so that is one of the reasons why I love them.
Okay. Well, then we should continue with that one. Very sorry because of Fires of Hokkaido. We can try to download it later and try to play it again. However, it depends on the time and so on. So, well, just let's wait and see. So here we go again. Here's the next song. And this time it works. I know that because I tried it. So without any further ado, here we go. Here is Felt with Liminality. Enjoy the song and hear you guys afterwards.
just how long you'll be fall in time. Don't mind the pain, in a head it might be somewhat strange. You're not alone, now you all just break away. Even if you don't fair apart, you know you're still inside my heart. So life is hard, you all fed up your head. Wish you were mine, but I'm totally happy inside. I don't know when I see the cat, it went away. I don't know when I see the cat, it
Well, something different, but maybe that was the right little punch that we needed right in between. Well, that was felt for you guys with liminality. Got to learn that word at some point, god damn it. But yeah, amazing how time flies, isn't it? Only 45 more minutes to go. It's it seems like it's way too short to give it to justify this or not enough time to for a proper interview, but somehow we managed to get through most of our points already. But let's talk about something which is more of a personal point of view, which is your perspective. We talked already about the new characters of Touhou, of the new Touhou game. What is your perspective or your point, your opinion about the latest game itself?
I have no comment. I haven't played it, to be honest. I have been not super busy, but I've been sort of busy with other things. So honestly, I can't tell you.
Okay. Have you checked out the music of it a little bit?
So when the demo came out, when did it come out? 6 months ago? 8 months ago, something like that. Well, I played the demo when it came out, and so I liked the stage 3 theme the most, and I thought if I had a chance to do it in this last album, I would cover it, but I didn't get a chance because deadlines, right? Self-imposed deadlines.
Yeah.
But no, I really like the stage 3 theme, and I would like to do something about it or do something with it at some point in time. I cannot say anything about the new stuff because I obviously haven't played it, and actually, when it comes to this sort of stuff, as much as I like listening to things on YouTube, basically the day when they're out, what I much more prefer is just to be able to experience it for myself. And like experience the music in the context of the game, just to see what Zun's going for, or what any game developer is going for. So when I get around to being able to play it, I will play it and experience like stage 4, 5, and 6, even if I have to just like mash through all my continues or whatever.
All right. So
Why did you want to make song arranges for Touhou in particular?
I honestly think because like no one else was doing it at the time. No one else was doing it at the time, and then like I'd always wanted to make. It was like I'd always wanted to make like orchestral arranges of other stuff, because it's like what I knew. I guess it's not like necessarily what I knew, because there was a point in time. There was a point in my life where I was just sort of like, okay, how do I learn how to compose, right? And someone was like, oh, here's a book, right? I asked like someone who was more like classically trained, and so they gave me a book, and it was Principles of Orchestration, and I read that. I was just like, oh yeah, make orchestral music. But if I had like chosen to ask like a different friend who was like making electronic stuff, or like a different friend who was making rock, and they give me like some other resource, I might be like making that sort of stuff today. I don't really know. But no, I ended up learning orchestral music, and the reason I did it was just I don't think there were that many people doing it at the time, and I thought I could like make something good.
Now it is full of people doing that, so it is strange for me to hear this.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people, and I'm discovering new people every day. Like one of my friends, whose circle goes by Daydream Workshop, I believe. Actually met him, or he actually does orchestral stuff too. I'm a little jealous of him because his sample quality is actually better than mine, and he has more stuff. So at some point in time, I will be able to scrounge up the money and get an overall upgrade to to my setup. But he does really good work. He does really good orchestral stuff. It's different from mine because he has different inspirations, but like I really admire like his ability and like just his overall take on some things. I have a different friend who goes by Slad JKF. I just call him Slad. It's SLAD JKF. I don't know what the letters mean. He also started out doing orchestral stuff, but he's also like a jazz, like live musician kind of guy. He has this really good like funk arrangement of Love Color Master Spark that I just really like. I really adore. Who else do I want to? Since I'm like shouting people out, there's a bunch of people that have done like stuff. The Reddit community just had Reddit ISI, so there are a bunch of people that have done like music stuff for that. I encourage people to check that out. There are people that like I run into on YouTube. I think there's like a Netherlands circle that I just found out about, like called Lowlands Blossom or something like that.
Yeah, these guys.
They're super promising, and I don't know, like again, like one of the unfortunate things about working with orchestral music is that it can kind of be gated by how good your sample libraries are. So like I'd look forward to what they can do with good sample libraries, because from what I've heard in terms of their arrangement quality, like it's very promising. If they want to upgrade like their like libraries, like look forward to that day, because it'll just sound even better.
Wait, is off topic question, but off topic. So is your favorite kind of music the orchestral one in general in your life? Like, what are you listening to more during your days?
Honestly, let's see. I listen to orchestral when I really, really feel like it, and when I really it's hard to say because I like orchestral music a lot, but I don't listen to it as much as I feel like I should. um, I spend a lot of time listening to I spent a lot of time listening to rock. I spent a lot of time like listening to like electronic stuff.
Mhm.
Um, like like East New Sound was one of the big circles that I followed when I first got into Touhou, and I still sort of like
I love
follow
its
them.
new sound. Yeah.
Um, Seraphit, uh, Shiwayan. Honestly, it's just sort of like it's sort of like in terms of like what Dojin music I'm listening to, it's just like a friend listened to something and they recommended it to me. So like one of my friends really loves Buddha Otome, and so like I've been listening to a lot of that.
Mhm.
There's someone else that I know that like there's someone that I follow on Twitter and that like really like loves Jiao Yazong, and so like after like a while I was just sort of like okay, I'll check out an album. And so went sort of like on a binge through that for a little bit. Um, yeah, the music, like I like listening to doja music, um, and so I just have a way of like listening to a lot of that, not really like independent of genre.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Okay.
Actually, this also gives me a nice opportunity to ask if you got the chance to to do a collab or join forces with another circle or arranger or just yeah, other people. Who would you like to work with?
I honestly don't know. This is actually a difficult question to answer, um, because okay, so in a world where like not like in a world where the only question is this person wants to work with you, do you want to work with them? The answer I would give is Vivian from Felt.
Okay.
Um, in a world where there are constraints like does the style you're working in like fit this person, um, and can you make it work, um, do you collaborate well with others? Like I personally find that like like I'm not actually that good at collaborating with people. Like I like doing it. Or
Hmm.
I would like to do more of it. It's just like uh, it's difficult for me. It's always been difficult for me to do. Um, so
Tell,
so
tell me honestly, have you ever thought about doing a collaboration with a vocalist?
there was that collaboration I did with Lefpa, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
for one of Milky Chan's albums, a long time ago,
Mm-hmm.
and that was nice. That was nice, and I enjoyed doing it. It was something different for me, and so I wouldn't like. I'd love to do it again. I want to like try and work out like what it is that I actually want to do if I did like a sort of collaboration, because for that it was just sort of like, oh yeah, I made a thing for you, and like maybe we could just add vocals, and like we added vocals, and like it was just sort of like hooray, now what? um it also introduced me to like the sort of hell that Milky goes through, because mixing and balancing can just be sort of
Mm-hmm.
pretty awful. It can be like a pretty awful experience.
Mixing.
Yes,
I
mixing
know how
can.
to do it.
Yes, I ostensibly know how to do it too. It's just um, uh, unfortunately, like I fall more on the side of like a composer than like a sound engineer,
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
composer arranger than the sound engineer, because I there are times where I'm just sort of like, oh yeah, I should be paying more attention to like how I'm EQing things if I'm EQing it all that day, right? Sometimes I'm just sort of like, oh shit, I released this, but I forgot to EQ. Fuck my life. I guess it'll just have to sound like a little less refined.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, I would love to collaborate with people more. I'm just not confident that I'm good at it.
Okay. I just managed to download Fires of Hokai, so we can listen to give it a shot now. And then we are actually heading straight into the last 30 minutes of our stream. So let's give it right now a little song, Fires of Hokai now, and then let's go into the final part, shall we? Just a quick question about that song, about actually about the circle itself from a distance. Are there other songs or works from them that you like a lot?
Yes. I'm trying to remember them because the way I like to describe this circle is just like it's kind of like hipster music, or it's kind of like hipster orchestral music.
Okay.
So I can't remember the title. Daffodils or something, the Eternity. I'm not really sure. I can't remember off the top of my head. But basically, I listened to this one album or this one song, and then I downloaded their next album, and I listened through all of that. So it's been a while since like I've actually thought about them, but they are definitely like super important.
Okay.
Yeah. So I can't suggest any more off the top of my head.
All right. But then let's give it a listen now. So here we go. Here's the next song for the stream. It is Fires of Hokai from a Distance. Enjoy the song and hear guess afterwards. Magical, isn't it? Well, that was Fires of Hokai from a distance, and I really like it. It's very inspiring, and thanks God that I somehow managed it, that we could listen to it, because it's absolutely worth it. So, final sport, here we go. But before we start into a few more questions from our side, are there any questions from you?
Are there any questions from me?
Yeah.
I
No,
I kind
no,
of feel
no
like
forcing, no forcing. It's all right.
I kind of feel like this is like a bad timing for me to ask questions.
Why would it be?
Let me think. I I don't know. I don't
Okay.
know.
Well, there are certainly a few questions from my side. For example, Touhou, as a general thing, has a lot of pros and cons. A few people say that Touhou itself is just another way how people try to flee from the reality, and other people say it is just another opportunity to open up a whole new world for the people. It's a style of, to be creative, to get inspirations, and get maybe sometimes the spirit to continue what you're doing in real life. What would you say is your opinion about these kind of arguments?
Hmm.
Well, I don't think that trying to distract from reality is bad, isn't it?
But is it
No,
really?
I mean, I don't think it's bad, but I think even if it was like an escape from reality, I think that's fine for the people that need it. Um, I think that Toho is big enough, is big enough, is like a big enough mental space for it to be whatever it needs to be for the people that are involved with it. Um, so as a creative space, sure. As like a space for as like an escape, sure. As a way for people to meet other people, sure. I mean, like, I don't think it's I I mean, I think it's special, but I don't think it's any different than a lot of other stuff that sort of occupies that similar space, right? Like, I don't think it's any different from, like, any other sort of hobby, but I do think it's special. Um,
For you, Toho, what was in this perspective?
for me, um, I think for me, I just saw like a community that I could get involved with and contribute to in some way. So like part in part like community space, or in part just sort of like a way to in part creative space. I'm sorry, and in part community space. So like a way to make friends, a way to like just sort of like interact with other people, and like in a really weird like abstract sort of, or not, in a weird indirect sort of way, a way to like make other people's lives better. I don't know. It sounds kind of goofy, but like I do think that people actively like trying to do things and like to create things and to like make things of value, is something like, as long as they're doing that, then they're and people are paying attention to it, then there is something that is important, and there is something that we should it is something that we should all try to do, I guess. Yeah.
If you got the opportunity, for example, to talk to Zune, what do you think you would like to talk with him, or what would you like to ask him or tell him?
My first thought was just sort of like, "Fuck you, you magnificent bastard." um, in a lot of ways, I admire him. I admire him for just basically like being himself, right? I think I've said this before, like in terms of like his music, right? But like his whole existence is just sort of like living proof that yes, you can just sort of be yourself, and like that can just sort of be something that other people like value and appreciate. Because like why make Toho? Because he wanted to play more shooting games, and no one was making anything that he liked, so he just decided to make it himself, right? Or etc.
Hmm.
Um, like I guess the things that I would like really like to ask him about are just like how he just sort of sees and views like Dojin, like Toho, and like the entire like idea of Dojin, because I feel like the way things have evolved, the way Toho has just played like a huge role in like how Dojin the Dojin scene has been like in modern times.
Hmm.
Like what he sort of sees are like you know are the most important things about it, like what sort of like future that he would like to see, like what sort of like things that he really wants to preserve about how Dojin operates right now.
Hmm.
um because basically like I just basically just want to see if like we see eye to eye on certain things, like because I do think like Dojin is a pretty interesting kind of thing, to be able to like let fans participate and like self-publish and like do things like that. So yeah.
Hmm. Well, actually, this is maybe one of a more funny question, but were there any moments when you listened to a theme song and you were like, "Hold my beer, I will show you how to do it right," and you made instantly in a range?
mm, I wish, but no.
Not yet.
No. No, it's not even like at this point I've just sort of like given up on being like, oh, hold my, like there's a way to do it right, because because whenever I listen to Zun's music, I'm just sort of like, well, that's who he is. There's no way, like there's a way for me to to do things to do something that I think is good, but it's more an expression of myself. And whenever I listen to Zun's music, I'm just sort of like, okay, this is an expression of you. Whenever I arrange it, I'm just sort of like, okay, how can I take something that is like you and just add like more, like a bit of me to it, or a
Hmm.
lot of me to it, right? But ultimately, I don't think I can just sort of be like, okay, you're doing it wrong. Here's all me, right? No. Um, there are people that I forgot to shout out earlier. There are people that do like Zune style music and that sort of stuff, and I think it's kind of remarkable how like how he spawned like a genre of, or a community of musicians that sort of like work in the genre Zune style music, right?
Hmm.
Uh, like I don't know if you know Princess Sylvie Spirit, um, one of the earliest people that sort of like did that. She's really fucking good
Hmm.
Mhm.
at being like Zune without actually being Zune. I'm just sort of like, that's a different skill in all unto itself. Like
Yeah.
like composers are like, oh yeah, I'll write this like Beethoven, or I'll write this like Bach or Brahms or whatever. And I'm just like, I don't even know how to fucking do that. And like
Hmm.
all I know is how to be myself. Yeah.
Are there actually like classic music? Is there classic
That I
music or
really like.
classic composers who are your absolute favorite?
Debussy, Ravel,
Okay.
the French Impressionists.
Hands down, huh?
Um, Hands down my favorite, because they are some of the like they're some of like the most colorful and interesting, and they do complex stuff that can be very hard to play or execute, right? But it's just like, you know, the imagery is just so strong.
Mm.
um, there are other people that I like and have studied, but none of like so like I learned Mahler, I guess. Okay, like Beethoven, Mahler, Rimsky Korsakov, because there was that one book, um, Holst. Actually, I like Holst. I like Holst a lot, but only because he had the planets, and the planets was a huge inspiration for Star Wars, that entire suite. But there's just something about like those French impressionists. Oh, and I guess choral music as well. I'd like to do like some sort of like choral stuff someday.
Choral, then more like, you know, like a fuga, or is it more than, you know, like a classical, more church style, you know, like a more of a sacred singing?
I would love to do something in a church style, actually, because for a while I worked in a church. I listened to a lot of choral music. I listened to. Did Ravel do a requiem? Someone there were a bunch of French people that did requiems, and I listened to a lot of those, and they're lovely. And so I would love to do like a standard SATB choir at some point in time, maybe for Touhou. I'm not sure with what though.
Try to imagine to work for. Would you be able to create a complete new melody for a new character? Do you think you would be able to do that? I know it is strange.
Well, the thing is, like, I've tried to be sort of like do like a Zune-ish style before, just like trying to figure out like how to do it. But I've never really been able to like recreate it as well as like some of these other people have. So I guess I could do it, but I don't think it would be as good as other people, to be honest.
Okay. What about characters? Like, if you could make your own individual character in Gensokyo, what wouldn't be, the characteristics of her be, or him?
It's funny because I think a lot of my characters now take inspiration from different sources, including Touhou. So, what would be an interesting character? Wow, I haven't really thought about this. No.
No.
This is well, no. This is a hard question because I'm thinking like, oh, maybe I can do like this character or like this other character I have an idea for. But I don't think any of them would work, and I think a lot of them are also like somewhat references or nods to Touhou as well. Yeah, I don't really know.
Okay, then which character would you say comes close to being the perfect individual character of yours?
The perfect individual character.
Which one? Which of the real Touhou character would be coming close to it?
Alice. As of this current moment, yeah.
I always I wondered, like, you're talking about Marisa and so on, but what about Alice? Like, you told me that you wanted to have Alice as an individual character today, so tell us a little bit about your reasons why you pick Alice.
Alice is a very, I don't know. Alice sort of just has reflected like kind of how I feel, uh, how I feel for a long time. Um, like she's obviously she's strong in her own right, but she's also she can also be kind of like, I feel like there's certain aspects to her that suggest like a brittle personality at times. And so I would there's just something very interesting about that to me, partially because I feel like I find I find like a lot in common with her. um, yeah, I think I also think that in terms of like her like design and like her powers, like her primary tool of choice is her dolls, right? But that doesn't mean like she can't do something else. It's just that she really wants to do stuff with her dolls. And so like there is this sort of like relatively unexplored like magician side to her that like we don't really get to see as much, because most of the time it's just like using her dolls as an extension of her magic, as opposed to like her magic itself. But I guess I'd like to see more.
Okay. The thing about Touhou and its community is that there are differences. Like, for example, there are even rivaling communities in a nation. For example, we had that story that Paru told us once about literally a little war between two Touhou fan communities against each other. And what is the situation right now at your place? Like, are the communities getting along with each other, or are there any kind of rivalries or things like these?
I think rivalries and like that sort of like in-group drama is pretty inevitable at this point. It's human nature, and it's for like people just have different opinions on things. In terms of like what's going on around like with the stuff I'm involved in, I don't actually. I prefer to be on the outside of drama, especially having been on the inside of drama at one point in time. I much prefer being on the outside of drama. So, um, if there's stuff going on, I don't really know about it, even though I love hearing about it. I just prefer not to be involved.
It's just nice banter to hear sometimes, huh?
It's super fun. It's super fun because it reminds us all that we're just human.
Yeah, definitely. We are just human in the end. All right, so now 10 minutes more to go, or 4 minutes or something like that we have to manage for the last song, which is actually one of your arranges. But before we talk about that, Remy, please ask the final question.
Of course. So, which are 3 wisdoms would you give to someone who starts making digital arranges, like me, for example?
Sure. One, three things, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's probably going to happen is I'm going to start listing things out and trying to give advice, and then I'm not going to be able to come up with a third point. So bear with me. Okay. One, it's important to get started. It doesn't matter what you have. There are plenty of free like digital audio workstations, like whatever. Like just go download one, and just start playing around with things and doing something that you like, right? Or trying to make something that you like or are at least happy with. So that's one, right? Just get started. Just keep doing it. Two. Depending on how old or how young or like what your view on certain things about or about this kind of stuff, like you should manage your expectations, because getting good at any skill is really difficult. It requires it takes time, um, and I think I mentioned this earlier before, but I think I remember the quote that I was going to use. I think it was like Ira Glass or something like that. The reason that you get, the reason that you, like anyone like you, or anyone like trying to be creative, trying to make something that tries to do that, is because you have a certain idea of of how good you want something to sound, or like you have an idea in your head, right? And you have a certain like taste, and you have like a certain sensibility about that sort of thing, right? So if you are going to if you're going to undertake this journey, you need to understand that like it takes time for your abilities to catch up with your sense of with that sense. um, because it can be very easy, or what a lot of people do is like they're just like, oh yeah, let me try it out, let me just figure it out, and let me just like see if I can make the thing that I want to make right away. And like expecting results too fast can actually be a problem, because it's just sort of like, why did the frustration can be overwhelming, and then at some point in time you're just sort of like, this isn't worth it, and just quit forever, right? And that would be bad, because if you do have this sense, right? If you do have an opinion and of what is good and isn't good, or what you enjoy and don't enjoy, or what basically like you need to stick with it until like you should stick with it until something happen, like until you can actually start getting something, because it does take a long time.
Mm-hmm.
3. I do have a third point, and it's still probably more like the second point. It's kind of like the second point, but it's like, actually, I could give more points now. 3. It's important to finish things. It's important to finish things. There are a lot of there are a lot of people that, some people have the problem of like starting something and like never finishing it. If you're going to get anywhere, you need to try and like finish a product, just to because the process of like learning how to do something, and the process of doing that something under any sort of reasonable timeline, those are actually two different skills, right? So like your ability to learn how to make music, like you can sit down every day and like practice something, or like practice at the piano, and you can play like little bits and pieces of a song, but that's one thing, right? But learning how to put that song together, and learning how to make a performance out of that song, that you practice, like that is also a different skill, and you need both to be able to like make a finalized product. So yeah, I think it's like get started, be persistent, and finish. Which really is like it sounds super simple, right? It sounds like, oh yeah, I started and then I kept doing it and then I finished, right? But like it's really what you need. And then I guess like at the end of everything, just come back, reevaluate, figure out what you can do better, and repeat.
Definitely. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here, Crescentia. It was really an amazing podcast with you, having so much more input and more, point of views and opinions about different things. It was very interesting. I really appreciate that we had the opportunity to talk with you in depth about these different things.
Yeah, it was my pleasure.
I hope you enjoyed your time here as well. So, yeah. Well, Remy, anything to add?
Huh?
Anything to add? What is your what is right now your feeling about the podcast today? What are your impressions?
I am having fun, especially in the chat, as you can see. Then thank you really, because I mean Crescentia, sorry, because you did a really good job. Thank you for everything.
Oh no, it was my pleasure.
Wow.
You helped us a lot.
Before we just finish it off and call it a night and listen to the last song, please tell us a little bit about that song, because first of all, I know that's one of your favorite themes, but
Yes.
you can tell me a little bit about it right now.
This is presumably the flagship track for my new album. Go download it. Throw me your money if you want to throw me your money. Or don't. Like give me your money if you want to. Don't give me your money if you don't want to. All I ask is that you listen. I find listens and comments more valuable than money, to be honest, because it shows that people care, and I love that people care. But anyway, Bloom Nobly, Border of Life, whatever you want to call it. One of my favorite tracks. I did not spend for how good it sounds. I did not actually spend a lot of time on this, right? Because this was like during crunch time for when I was trying to push this album out. I really like how it turned out. I really like listen, like, you know, there's a middle section where, you know, where you can hear staccato French horns. Really like that, and then it's just sort of like blends into a combination of piccolo, xylophone, flutes, like something, just the textures that I just really adore. That I was just sort of like, huh, I don't know how I came up with this in like a couple days, but really like it. So please enjoy. It is the featured track for the album, and do check out the rest of the album.
All right, so final words. It is tradition at our side that our guest gives a little bit of a goodbye greeting to our viewers and also to his fans. So please.
To my fans, I am not aware that you exist, so please come say hello to me. I deeply appreciate that you listen to my stuff, because I can get pretty down on myself sometimes. But if you do listen to what I make, I really appreciate that, because it's good to know that what I'm doing people like.
All right.
Thank you.
So finaling up, Remy, please, a little bit of a greeting as always on Italian.
Okay, before that, Bloom Nobly is my favorite work of yours.
Oh, thank you.
Then, grazie a tutti per essere stati con noi e spero di vedervi una prossima volta. Spero ci sarà.
All right, and now just let me first of all thank both of you for being here. Of course, Crescentia, thank you very much for joining today. I really appreciate that we could manage it, and it was absolutely worth every minute of it. And yeah, looking forward to see your next work. So keep it up, and yeah, you're doing a great job. So I'm here and supporting you. Also, I would love to share more music of yours on our streams.
Yeah, you have one more fun too with me.
So, Remy, also thank you very much thank you very much for supporting me today. And yeah, it was great to have you with us as well.
Thank you. Always.
All right, so guys, I'll do this classically, the three languages in a row. So today we start with Japanese. はい、皆さん、今週も見てくれまして、本当にありがとうございます。この後からいつまたストリームするライブに行くかわからないんですけど、まだその時はまたぜひ見てください。本当に毎週ありがとうございます。さらにこれからまた違うようなビデオもアップロードするつもりなので、それもまたぜひ見てください。はい、それまでまたお会いしましょう。 And now in German. Ja, danke Leute fürs Zuschauen. Ich wünsche euch ein schönes Wochenende. Ich hoffe, ihr hattet richtig viel Spaß, so wie ich es hier hatte. Ich weiß nicht, wann das nächste Mal wieder mein Stream kommt, aber wenn, dann hoffe ich, dass ihr alle wieder zahlreich dabei seid. Es wird außerdem bald wieder anderen Content geben bei mir. Videos werden hochgeladen werden wahrscheinlich. Wir arbeiten schon daran. Ja, schaut doch einfach mal vorbei und ich hoffe, es wird euch gefallen. Bis dorthin haltet die Ohren steif und bleibt gesund und munter. Bis dann. Yeah, thank you everybody for watching today. It was great to have you around with me, and I don't know when the next podcast will be, but in that case, I really hope that you will check it out. And yeah, also there will be other contents other contents is also in planning for this for the page, so for the channel. So yeah, look forward to it, and I hope you guys will stay healthy, have a great weekend, and well, see you guys in the next stream then. So that was it from me, from the whole crew here, and let's finish it off with the last song, which is Ephemeral Bloom, Eternal Blossom, and a range of, yeah, Bloom Nobly or just Bottle of Life and Yuko's theme. I really love it, and you will love it as well. So this is one of Crescentia's best works, I gotta say as well. So enjoy the songs. Thank you very much for listening today, and see you guys very soon, I hope. This was Fujiwara no So. Thank you, and thanking very much for your attention, and yeah, see you around, guys.